Joining me now to discuss is Lazy Boy's president and CEO, Melinda Whittington. Melinda, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
So we spoke with a door maker yesterday who said that, listen, it's just this is a little bit of a tough part of the cycle right now, you know, kind of post-pandemic. Describe for us overall how business is going this year compared with, you know, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, the last 3 years for furniture, there's certainly been a lot of disruption. We had, consumers were home, they were ordering a lot, and then there was just significant supply chain disruption that slowed down production to meet that demand. So of our $2.3 billion of sales last year, and our year just finished at the end of April, so that 2.3 billion, 300 million of last year's sales were actually just servicing pandemic related backlog.
Wow.
So if we kind of then look at where's the consumer today, now that we've caught up on that backlog, our consumer right now is fairly stable across the industry with where we were last year, and as that disruption is settled out. Across furniture, the furniture industry for the quarter ended July, which is how we look at it, the consumer's down about across furniture and furnishings about 6%. Our consumer, though, is doing much better than that, and we're pleased with that. And I believe that's the strength of our execution and our brand name in a really fragmented market. We just delivered 8% growth in our retail business. We're both a manufacturer and a retailer. And even within that 8%, of course, that's new stores and acquisitions, but 2% of that was same store growth. So we are seeing the consumer reacting,
right,
when you're still speaking with them.
Then I hear, from some of our younger producers, Joybird is a popular brand, a little bit more apartment facing, that kind of thing. We heard from Macy's and Foot Locker that in June-July timeframe, the consumers started to weaken a little bit. Is that unique to those companies, or did you pick up on that as well?
No, we really didn't see that. We're actually seeing sequential strengthening. I think the last, call it year and a half, furniture broadly has been somewhat subdued. What we've seen is the consumer go back to sort of normal seasonality, and so summer are slow months. But we've actually seen sequential strengthening in our own retail since the back half of our last fiscal and through our May, June, July quarter, and even into early August as we start. So we're seeing broadly, stabilized and slightly positive trends.
Sure. And that's, in a way, it's good to hear. I mean, maybe it speaks to the challenges those other segments of retail are having, but that it's maybe not something happening with the consumer more broadly. So we talked a little bit about kind of inflation or pricing. Is that out of your pipeline now? In other words, when we start talking about whether sales are going to be up, 3, 5, whatever the number is, as you kind of are more hopeful about the holidays, how much of that is pricing? How much of that is volume?
Yeah, the pricing is pretty stable at this point. So, over the last couple of years, the furniture industry saw some pretty dramatic price increases based on input costs, right? 25, 30, even 40%. The majority of that has held, but it's been well over a year since we've taken any type of really significant pricing action. So we're really looking at, again, more stable trends and more volume related as we go forward.
Then I guess my last follow-up question to that would be price cuts. People are starting to notice it at the price leaders like a Walmart, that they're really taking advantage and saying, we can now eat into this a little bit, maybe win the consumer, and not have to do too much on margins for the reasons that you mentioned.
Yeah, across our industry, and certainly for us, the more than half of that pricing is really held up. Now, it varies a bit, by the consumer base. Our Lazy Boy consumer and even our Joybird consumer tends to be a bit of an upper middle income consumer, and so maybe a little less price sensitive. So we've seen some activity within furniture broadly. It's maybe a little bit, to a little more price sensitive consumer.
Yeah.
But overall, we're not seeing, dramatic actions taken. Now, we're always keeping an eye on that.
Of course.
But, we believe, the consumer is going to pay for the brand, the trust, and the quality.